When's the suffering going to end out here in the trucking industry is a good question. And is this the end of the trucking industry is another good question.
The company has also temporarily shut down corporate offices to do the deed, meaning some employers, or employees rather, will learn they are getting laid off.
Truck drivers are going to have to be careful in 2023 on how and where they spend their money.
Where the consumers continue to place their priority in their purchase patterns right now. And then additionally, this is going to impact their sales growth, their form of what the company's chief executives are saying right now.
Yeah, this decline in earnings, for projected decline in earnings this year, will be the second straight year that Walmart has seen a decline in earnings.
And I have not received any profit from running trucks for Prime Inc. this year. We are in April, and we have not netted any profit on our trucks this year.
January 2022, the trucking market took a massive nosedive after a massive, about a 1 year run of really good rates and things like that. And the rates were great. But then, about January, February 2022, March, those rates started to dip off, and they dipped off fast and they dipped off hard. And I think, at the same time, fuel prices went up dramatically due to the war in Ukraine. Fuel prices went from like $3.80 a gallon on average at, I'd say, about most pilots and Flying J's to, I think I ended up getting into the $5.50 range.
Just trying to make it through. One of our trucks has been sitting for, I think, 6 weeks.
It's frustrating, especially with the rates being as low as they are. Every penny counts. You can't really afford to take a crap load. Hey, you know what? I'll take this crap load so I can get a better load out of the other place. No, because that better load's going to be a crappy load too.
Hi guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kirsty. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. It's been pretty gloomy times in the trucking industry lately, and there have been furloughs at FedEx, Amazon's cutting jobs, Old Dominion here was laying people off. My neighbor got laid off from Old Dominion. You'll see in some of my clips that Eric, driver lineup, who was building a fleet here at Prime, he's going through some rough times. David H. was sitting there talking about how, they left and they went to a couple different companies and they're trying to get back and they're going through hard times. No Hippie did a video recently where he was discussing that people take it personally, and it's not. It's just the industry. It doesn't matter what company you go to. We're in economic problems, economic downfall. So there's nothing personal about this. It's not your fleet manager. It's not your company. Freight is down. And what happens is when drivers who've been around for, quite a few years wind up seeing this, we have feast or famine in the trucking industry. And there are a few things that wind up happening when people start buying trucks and building fleets and things like that, which is why we're seeing things like Eric from Driver Lineup. We saw this happen with Woody a couple years ago where he lost everything. He was like on 9 trucks and had one ordered in, and there was a situation where there was a really high tow bill for like $12,000 or $15,000, and then there was a really bad accident, and then his one truck had a transmission problem, so it was $40,000 in a short amount of time, and his loss of revenue and what he was paying out to the driver and hotel bills and things like that. So people fall behind, especially when freight drops. And you have to be able to, have the foresight to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? Don't grow too fast. Back in 2019, we saw the same thing happen with Woody, where he paid off one truck and then he started buying from Pedigree, and he was getting used trucks, and then the used trucks were breaking down, and he was, he was getting torn apart by some of the people on YouTube for not doing the repairs on his truck himself. But we all can't be mechanics either. So that's something else that when you're a company driver, driving for a lease op or driving for a company, I don't worry about mechanics. Little stuff, okay, I can, fix something, but you have to worry about the warranties on the truck. So even as somebody who's a lease purchase, if you try to do your own mechanic work, it could void out whatever warranty you have. So I kind of think that it was not right of people to attack Woody in that way. However, when it comes to things like breaking, cutting airlines, when you accidentally make a turn, when the airlines are hanging down too low, a smart lease or owner operator is going to have extra hoses on the truck. Here at Prime, you can get them for like almost 50% off what you would pay out in the truck stops. And it's $25 for the wrench. So for $100, you can replace all 3 lines, including your wrench, and do it yourself. Or like one of the YouTubers did a couple years ago, pay $700 to a truck stop. But something that happens when people are growing too fast, all the trucks are financed. So when you have all your trucks financed, you don't have any that's actually bringing you a straight profit. You don't have one that can help, offset the costs of downtime or not having drivers. For the past couple years here at Prime, people have been buying the lease purchase trucks, then getting company drivers to drive for them. Now that the company drivers are being told by the mini fleet owners, well, we're not making as much profit, so we're going to need to reduce your pay, or you're not going to be able to get home time as much as you did before. Some of them have even gone as far to say, when a driver signs on to them, they'll say things like, well, I'll still pay you $1,000 a week when you go home. Or I'm going to give you 2 weeks paid vacation, Christmas through New Year's, through that time. Things of that nature, which is nice. Not saying it's bad. It's nice that the owner wants to offer that and realizes the value of a good driver. However, once it turns out that the freight goes down and here freight is slow, then what happens? Then the company driver's saying, oh, wait a minute, dude, you told me you were going to pay me the week I went home. And then the mini fleet owner says, oh, I can't really afford it right now. Well, that wasn't the deal. You sign a contract for your pay. So what? I'm not getting my 2 weeks vacation because you didn't take into consideration when you started your business plan how you were going to figure that out? So there are a lot of company drivers that were on mini fleets that are now jumping back to the company side. We've had a lot of trucks sitting at our terminal with signs in the window that say, looking for driver, good pay, good miles, blah, blah, blah. I don't always think that the fleet owners know how much a company driver makes. So sometimes it comes across as, hey, I'm doing you a favor. And a lot of times the company drivers are like, hey, I made more on the company side, so what are you going to do for me to make it better? Something else to consider, what kind of trucks are you getting? In Woody's situation, he had the one truck that was a lease purchase that he paid off here at Prime. Then he started buying the used trucks. The used trucks wind up with more problems from, they have lower payments, but they also can wind up with more problems. So you have to be prepared for that. What are you doing to put in your maintenance fund to make sure that those problems are covered when they arise? And something I've seen people do, before they even have one truck paid off, they come off the road and then they put a driver in there. You are never going to make as much money off of a truck that somebody else is paying for as you would the truck you're driving. Put aside the fact that now you're paying a driver and you're paying the payroll taxes and the workman's comp and the health benefits and all that, but honestly, you're the one that's invested in that truck. You're the one that's invested in that fleet. So you're going to run better and care more than a driver. This is one of the reasons why I never wanted to drive for somebody else, was because I would feel so guilty if I did something to the truck. I would feel guilty if I hit the truck or scratched the truck or something like that. And there are fleet owners like No Hippie that, you know, he and I have discussed things like this on occasion, and he was like, that's just part of doing business. It might just be part of doing business, but I myself would feel more guilty if I did something to a mini fleet truck than I would to a prime truck. And there are people that are like, oh, well, you should care about if you wreck the prime truck too. It's not that I don't feel like I have a responsibility to take care of the prime truck. It's that I know on a personal level, I understand what my damage to the truck could do to that lease op. I realize that when he goes to sell the truck, it could be an issue. You know, it might be something he has to fix. I understand that he's going to have to deal with the shop time, the downtime, the loss of revenue. So I personally don't want to have to put up with that. I don't want to feel guilty about that. When a mini fleet owner is struggling, he should get his butt back on the road. Team, TNT, do whatever the heck you have to support your family and support your fleet and your business. If you're not doing that, then you're not really giving it your all and you're not that committed. And at the same time, why would a company driver want to work for somebody like that who's not that committed to their own fleet? These are things to take into consideration and think about. We've seen this over the years. This is nothing new. Plan for bad things to happen. Run hard when the freight is up. Take the time off when the freight is down. Also, something I think people make a mistake about, they want to rely on programs like the lease purchase programs to build their fleets, to build their business plan. I've seen this a lot in my comments and on the comments of other channels where people were right, you know, Prime wasn't doing the lease purchase thing for about 9 months to a year, something like that. And people were writing, well, this ruins my business plan. Well, you know what happens to businesses when their whole entire plan revolves around one thing? They go defunct. Extinct. 2019, we saw a whole bunch of trucking companies go out of business. The biggest one was Celadon, and that was really more their management and how the management didn't pay stuff and abused their powers, and those guys were supposed to be going to prison and everything. But the drivers got left out on the road. Another one around that time frame was Falcon. Falcon put all their eggs in one basket. They wound up hauling mostly auto parts. Well, when COVID hit and the auto industry stopped selling cars, guess what happened? Falcon went out of business because they put all eggs in one basket. You're relying on the lease purchase to allow you to build your fleet. You might need to rethink. If your finances in your personal life are a wreck, how are you going to be able to handle a business? If you can't get financing for a personal loan, what makes you think that you should be able to get financing for a truck? And I know people are going to say, well, I put $14,000 down. $14,000 for a truck is nothing. The trucks right now, brand new Peterbilts, are in the shop. I just looked at this. This is $225,000 for a brand new truck. The same truck was $140,000 literally $100,000 less a year and a half ago. And so we see a lot of things going on where people weren't prepared. People really didn't plan properly. They didn't understand the markets. Something that happened with David H. He had the lease purchase here at Prime. He came online on his YouTube channel talking about he left Prime because of home time issues, which honestly, I don't really agree with that. I think that was a bad reason to leave. My opinion, yes, but his complaints were they couldn't get me home on time. Well, one of the big deals about being a lease or a lease purchase, being an independent contractor of any kind, is that you can go home when you want. So if they don't get you close enough to home and you're teaming with your wife, drive home. I mean, what some people don't understand is when you put in for home time, they'll put in their system, be home Wednesday, or be home July 1st. Their system, as long as they get you July 1st by midnight, they're happy with that. So if you have a wedding plan July 1st, you turn around, tell them you want to be home, June 27th or something like that, June 28th, whatever 2 or 3 days is ahead of time. And when you realize you're not getting home on time, drive home. Eat the fuel. Especially in a time where everybody's bragging about how much money they're making, eat the fuel costs. But as a company driver, I never had that issue. We're going on 7.5 years. I missed my home time twice, and both were my choices because one, I put the truck in the shop, and the other one, I shut down for a blizzard. If I didn't shut down, I would have kept going and I would have made it home. So it's really difficult for me to understand when the independent contractors are complaining that they didn't get home on time. So then the question is, did they really not make the choice to go home? Or, were they really not able to get home on time? Or did they choose not to go home on time? Did they reject loads based on how much, they were paying and the revenue? Because it doesn't matter to me what the load is paying to get me home. I just want to be home. Okay. But again, No Hippie was talking about you can't take things personally. As of, I think it was September, October of this past year, 2022, Prime was no longer accepting lease purchase back into the fold. So if you took your lease purchase truck out of Prime, you couldn't come back. That's not personal. That's not against David H. My former student, he had a lease purchase. He took it out of Prime. He brought it back, and he was actually told, oh, you just made the cutoff because that's ending next week. So it's nothing personal. Sometimes people fail and they think it's personal. Sometimes people have things in their heads of they think they're a failure if they don't make a certain goal, a certain amount of money, if they're not doing the same as what their friends are or whatever. There are times that it doesn't make you a failure. It doesn't make the company horrible. There are going to be times that are going to be tougher than others. Work through them. One thing that happens is people make less money when they make themselves less available. So if you're saying, I'm not driving New York City, I'm not driving the Northeast, I'm not going through Wyoming, I'm not driving nights, I'm not driving weekends, I'm taking a 34 every weekend, you're limiting the kinds of loads you can take. And one thing that happens when people go on load boards is, and this is something I see all the time. I've been watching this for years. People come to Prime and they go to Lease. Then they go to Lease Purchase. Then they want to buy the truck and they want to take it out of here. And they want to go to Landstar and they want to go to FedEx. And it's going to be so much better over there. And then they get there and it's not what they thought. One of my best friends, he has a conventional straight lease that he took out of Prime. You can take a regular a regular walkaway lease, conventional lease, out of Prime. It doesn't have to be a lease purchase. But he took it out of Prime and he did well for 1 year running off of load boards. By the second year, when freight went down, it turned into, oh my God, I have to spend so much time trying to plan these loads and I don't get to sleep and I'm running so hard and I didn't go home. And, you know, to me, that's all kinds of stress that I don't want. And if you save and, you know, you make arrangements and you set yourself up properly, you don't have to go through that stress. No Hippie just said something that was really interesting, and I feel the same way. The economy has to go down at some point. The trucking is always feast or famine. Know that it's coming. One thing that I do kind of feel sorry about, you know, I feel bad for Eric and driver lineup. I do feel bad for all of the people that came in, like, you know, I guess 3 years ago, around the time he did, because No Hippie came in when freight was down, if you remember. It's like 2019. He didn't get his truck till the end of 2019. If I remember correctly, it was right before Christmas. And then he went into the lease, and then he bought the other truck sometime in the summer, I'm pretty sure it came in. So he was like 1.5 years until he bought the second truck. So that first truck is going to be paid off this summer, okay? That puts him in a totally different category than somebody who decided to come off the road. And he said something recently that was really, you know, it was profound, is that you need the economy to go up and down. That's how our economy works, okay? During the down times is when you have the ability to start making money, because you can make investments, and then when the economy rebounds, boom, there you go, you just made money. I think a lot of people that came in about 2 to 3 years ago, they came in at a time when the freight was on its way up from that 2019 dip. So the freight was on its way back up, and when they got their trucks, they were like, ooh, this is what it's gonna be. So we saw people that were talking on YouTube about, I'm gonna buy a truck and I'm gonna pay cash and I'm gonna go to load boards and I'm gonna make $5 a mile and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. That works for a short period of time. And that time has ended. So if that was what you were planning on doing, you need to have a backup plan. You know, what are you gonna do when, and I don't really think that it's their fault. I think it's that it goes back to the lack of experience, the lack of knowledge, maybe the lack of research. Research what you're doing, what you're looking into. Learn from the mistakes of others. Everybody watches all these channels, and sometimes I wonder, are you actually watching and learning from us? Are you learning to not make our mistakes? But I really, my heart goes out to people that are struggling right now. There are some people that aren't struggling as much. And there are some really profitable fleet owners that have several trucks paid off. So they will make it through this time. It's not the end of trucking. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't even have to be the end of of your fleet if you're in that situation. Get your butt back out on the truck. Run team if you have to. Bring in some more money. If you can, pay off the truck as soon as you can. When you have, and No Hippie again, No Hippie was just talking about loyalty goes a long way. I'm really loyal, my fleet manager, and everybody knows it. Because he sees his job as making my life easier, of making my job easier. I see my job of making his life and his job easier. Because of that, we work together as a team. I really don't want to ever have to lose that. When you treat your drivers well, you're going to get more loyalty. But you also have to make it a point to understand that what does treating the driver well mean. If you're going to build a fleet, one thing to consider is the cost of the drivers. People think, oh, okay, freight's good, I'm going to pay 60 cents a mile. Not bad. I mean, people don't realize this, but it's actually kind of equivalent to what the company side is when you add in our bonuses and stuff. If you put somebody in a lightweight truck, they're usually above that 60 cents a mile when it comes to the bonuses. To come to somebody like me who's experienced and say, I'm going to give you 60 cents a mile, my next question is, and what? I better be getting better home time. I better be getting some kind of a bonus. Understand what you can afford. A lot of people out here will tell me, oh, well, I don't get paid by the mile, I get paid by the load. You still have to break down your costs by the mile to understand how much you can afford to pay somebody by the mile. Not only are you paying for their wages, but you're also paying the payroll taxes. You're paying their workman's comp. You're paying their health benefits. So I pulled up one of my friend's settlements and was looking to see what he was paying his co-driver. And, you know, he's paying the co-driver 25 cents a mile, but it actually cost him like 32 or 33 cents a mile for all of the other benefits that are involved. If you don't understand what your profit is, you're not going to be able to figure out what the driver costs. Something else to consider is wrapped up in those driver costs are the home time. A company driver is not going to want to stay out the same way a lease op would want to stay out. Okay, as a company driver, I don't get any kind of rewards for staying out 2 or 3 months at a time. Now you could say, oh, well, yeah, but you're getting paid more because you're not taking time off. Okay, but that might not be the most important thing to me. Okay, so most company drivers are used to going home every month. Most lease ops will want to stay out 6 to 8 weeks in order to turn a profit. So if you have somebody that's coming to you as a company driver, they're going to expect to be home every 4, 5, 6 weeks. They're not going to expect to be out for 2 to 3 months at a time. The more home time that they take, the more you have to calculate that into your cost of operations. That means that to pay me 60 cents a mile, I might be costing you 82 cents a mile, 85 cents a mile. Okay, I worked these numbers out earlier, and it was something like 60 cents a mile, it's plus the taxes, plus the workman's comp, plus the health insurance benefits that Prime is responsible for. But when you're the lease op running a company driver, you're responsible for that. You know, you come out to 82 or 83 cents a mile, something like that, at the 2,500 mile mark at 60 cents a mile. On top of that, if I wind up taking home time, you're still paying out. You're still going to have to pay out the portion of my health benefits and my workman's comp. Those are fixed costs. Okay? You're still going to have to pay that truck payment. So a lot of times people don't even realize how much they make per mile as a profit and how much it would cost them to run a driver. Really break this stuff down. I took the time to break this down. So if somebody's wanting to start a fleet, they should take the time to break this stuff down. And if you have any questions, then comment down below, like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Do me a favor, check out these 2 videos next to me. Stay safe, you know, and hang in there. If you're struggling with money and you're struggling with loads and stuff right now, it's gonna pass eventually. And if you're ever in Springfield, make sure you hit me up, because I hope to see you out here trucking along. Bye.